Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and I'd like to give special thanks to my producer who's making it happen for me this morning, the talented Mr. Jeremiah Long. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it. We surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. Don Huston, 6'1", 183 pounds, played at the University of Alabama. And when you look at the University of Alabama, and as I move on with my 64 years of life, I have to admit it's the most powerful college football program probably in the United States. Well, I'm going to say in the South. I don't care where you was born at in the South. You could be born in Oxford, Mississippi, or born where I was born, Memphis, Tennessee, or where I lived at in Knoxville, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. But when you mention college football, from a Southern perspective, the one school that comes out of everybody's mouth is the University of Alabama. You're talking about champions. You're talking about history. You're talking about Sweet Home Alabama, Leonard Skinner. You're talking about the epitome of college football in the South. And I know over the years, there's been some great programs out there in California with the USC football program, the University of Michigan, Notre Dame. But me, a guy growing up in the South and being able at 4 or 5 years old to realize where college football stood at that time in the 60s, it's all about the University of Alabama. And this gentleman today, Don Huston, who I just mentioned is 6'1", 183 pounds. He got it started back in the 1930s. He got it started in the 1935 Rose Bowl when he had 6 receptions for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns as that great Alabama team defeated Stanford. And think about Don Huston. He was an All-American at the University of Alabama in 1934. He was first team All-SEC. But the guy that played on the opposite side of him is one of the greatest coaches ever in college football, in Bear Bryant. But let's make no mistake. Bear Bryant built the University of Alabama from his coaching perspective. But the gentleman that put Alabama on the map was the gentleman that you're seeing on the screen right now, Mr. Don Huston, out of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. How in the world did he end up in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he didn't go to the University of Arkansas? But I know a little bit about Pine Bluff because I went to school at the University of Arkansas, so I know a lot of people from Pine Bluff. Mark Bradley, outstanding football player at the University of Oklahoma. Marty Coleman, outstanding football player in the National Football League with the Washington Redskins. And Willie Roaf, we don't have to say no more, one of the greatest offensive tackles that played in the National Football League with the New Orleans Saints. But what really stuck out in my mind about Mr. Huston is when he got to the National Football League and was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. 8-time first-team All-Pro from 1938 to 1945. Led the NFL in scoring 5 times. Voted to the NFL 75th anniversary team. Pro Football Hall of Famer in 1963. College Football Hall of Famer in 1951. 4-time Pro Bowler back in them days in the 30s and the 40s. A national champion in 1934. And 2-time most valuable player in the National Football League in 1941 and 1942. But the skill set back then was something that nobody had at that time. Quickness, A+. Fluid in motion, A+. Ease at catching the ball, A+. Change of pace as a receiver, A+. Outstanding hands, A+. Let me take you back with that speed now. That speed that a lot of people don't talk about, Mr. Don Huston. He was a 9'7" guy in a 100-yard dash. Dominant as a receiver, A+. Also played safety in the National Football League. Went both ways. Talented as a safety, A+. but he was unstoppable as a receiver, A plus. Instincts as a safety, A plus. His career stats in the National Football League, 488 receptions, and he had 30 interceptions as a safety. When you're talking about football players in the South and guys that set the tone, not only from a universal perspective, but also in a national football perspective, Don Huston is one of the greatest that ever done it. And when you think about the University of Alabama today, and you think about Jalen Milroe, the quarterback over there, and Kellen DeBoer, the coach, and Nick Saban, and all the great players that's played at Alabama, E.J. Jr., Gary Rutledge, Ozzie Newsome, Don McNeil, Jeremiah Castilla, Mark Ingram, Mr. Mike Johnson that's appeared here on 100 Yards of Football. Listen to me very closely. And Johnny Musso, you better put Don Huston in your mouth. One of the most outstanding football players has played in the South and went on and played in the National Football League with the Green Bay Packers. If you like the video today, please comment and share it. Very, very thanks to my producer today, Mr. Jeremiah Long. I've been your host, Vincent Turner. And before I leave today, all I got to say is this. Even though I'm a University of Tennessee fan, love the Vols, I got a lot of respect for the University of Alabama. My final words today, roll tide, Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama.